Okay, comrades, we've come to the end of the ANC Lekgotla. ANC NEC Lekgotla. We have invited the media to an open session as the President is giving us the closing remarks. Okay. So let us be attentive and quiet. And President, are you ready? Let me invite you.
Amandla. Amandla. Matla. Matimba. Manda. All power. National Chairperson, Deputy President Paul Mashatile, officials of the African National Congress, former President Thabo Mbeki, members of the National Executive Committee, the leadership of COSATU, the SACP, and indeed the leadership of the Women's League, the Youth League, the Veterans League, leadership of MK Liberation War veterans, the leadership of Controlesa, of SASCO and COSAS, ministers and deputy ministers, mayors, and leaders of SALGA, comrades who are deployed in various institutions who have joined us, and comrades and friends. As we conclude this Lekgotla, I'd like to extend our gratitude that so many of you have been able to set aside time to be at this Lekgotla, which has been a very productive and focused Lekgotla. Through our deliberations over the last 2 days, we have in many ways given full effect to the instructions of the 55th National Conference to come up with strategies, plans, and initiatives to act with urgency and purpose to meet the needs of our people. We've looked at the actions we must take now and over the next few months to resolve the energy crisis, more specifically the electricity crisis, to grow our economy, to create employment, to deal with criminality in our country, and to tackle poverty and hunger. Underpinning all these actions are the practical steps that we must take to renew and rebuild the ANC. And in the course of doing so, to ensure that the ANC is united, we have said that this renewal process must be driven by a program of action that is rooted in our communities, that attends to their needs. We have resolved that an intensive program of strengthening our branches and deepening training of our branch members and branch leaders must be undertaken in the next few months to ensure that our branches undertake campaigns to improve the lives of our people as they work with various structures of our government at all levels. This Lekgotla has provided clear direction on what needs to be done to end the energy crisis as a matter of extreme urgency and to establish a firm foundation for energy security and sustainability into the future. We must welcome the contribution from Mr. Anil Sardana from India in the way that he shared the Indian experience with us, an experience which I believe enriched our discussions and provided international perspective on how our own challenges can best be addressed. The contribution by Comrade Tintswalo Makubele on the impact of load shedding on communities, small businesses and cooperatives, and the farming sector ensured that our approach takes proper account of the devastating consequences of load shedding on the economy and on the livelihoods of our people generally. The Lekgotla agreed that energy security is very central to our country's national interest, our country's national sovereignty, and national security. Without energy security, we will not be able to achieve our other developmental priorities, such as building a transformed, inclusive, growing, and job-creating economy. We will not be able to have food security, water security, and an improving education sector. Our healthcare will remain challenged. Our various other projects such as housing, transportation, and other basic services as a whole will remain severely challenged. We should welcome the perspective from commissions, and we're rather pleased that our commissions had very deep and extensive discussions on the challenges that our country faces. We welcome their perspectives on addressing the energy crisis rather, and how government acting together with the broader society can advance the efforts and the initiatives to address this challenge. As the ANC, we have undertaken to playing an active role in mobilizing all sections of society behind the Energy Action Plan. There's clear direction from the Lekgotla that we must resolve the immediate task of load shedding within a much shorter time frame than what has been projected. A set of actions has been set out to achieve that objective. There was talk about a declaration of a national state of disaster, like what we did when we faced COVID-19, and there's broad agreement that we should move in that direction. Work is already underway within government to establish whether the legal requirements for the declaration of a national state of disaster are met, and what specific actions we would be empowered to undertake to urgently resolve load shedding within the framework of a national state of disaster. This matter is going to receive urgent attention in government processes It will also be discussed more fully and thoroughly at the government Lekgotla, which will be taking place in the next few days. And it is a matter that should be attended to and resolved without delay. It was observed that it would be necessary to have a national state of disaster because that would enable us to have the instruments that would be necessary to fully address the challenge that our nation faces. I must add that this proposal has been articulated in a number of consultations that we have held with a number of role players, from traditional leaders to social formations, community-based organizations, to trade unions, business, and many others. So I'd like to say that this matter is being addressed with the urgency that it requires. The Lekgotla agreed that a decisive national energy crisis action plan must be rolled out with a serious focus on the mobilization of the whole of government and society, so that this whole process should not be seen as the responsibility of government alone. This Lekgotla has agreed that coordination of our response also needs to be escalated to the most senior levels of government, and that we need to communicate more clearly, and the message must be clear. Yes, there should be many voices, but the message should be a singular message so that there is no confusion amongst our people. And this we shall do. The Lekgotla also said that the President must coordinate all these processes that we need to embark upon to ensure that the energy crisis is properly addressed like we did during COVID-19. The Lekgotla has emphasized that the mobilization of social partners is essential to mobilize the massive investment required to create jobs and to transform our economy. The Lekgotla has agreed that we need to give new impetus as well as urgency to this task, and that we must respond constructively to the proposals from the other role players such as business, labor, as well as community-based organizations. We have agreed that the economic reconstruction and recovery plan, which plan was arrived at following a process of social compacting and consultation, remains at the center of our work to rebuild our economy, and that our task now is to intensify the implementation of that plan and attend to areas where there has been insufficient progress. A particular area of emphasis was in relation to localization and the reindustrialization of our economy. We should seek to unite society around a program of social and economic transformation. We should continue to strive to create a common national program to make the economy work better for all our people. We should deepen a developmental state mindset on all what we now do as we move forward, and show deliberate leadership through articulating a clear program for economic development, such as the one that is outlined in the ERRP. We must unite social partners around all these programs to ensure that we achieve our objectives. We have had critical discussions about the obstacles to greater infrastructure investment and improved maintenance of the infrastructure facilities that we have. Central to these challenges is the capacity of the state to drive infrastructure investment, and as a consequence, the Lekgotla has agreed on several actions to improve the capacity of the state across all spheres of government and to mobilize the private sector capabilities and resources more effectively, utilizing a number of initiatives and ideas that will come forward. We have agreed that we will need to prioritize infrastructure that affects people most directly, specifically electricity, water, and road infrastructure. As part of the urgent work required to improve delivery of basic services, this Lekgotla has recommended that a delivery command center be established in the organization. This should package and monitor key deliverables of our basic services such as water, sanitation, human settlements, roads, and infrastructure, as well as maintenance. Every ANC branch needs to submit a report on the state of delivery of basic services and of maintenance infrastructure in each ward. We have recognized that the effective delivery of basic services depends on having capable and skilled people in all spheres and entities of government. We have agreed that a skills audit should be undertaken to ascertain requisite skills and qualifications of those who are placed in various centers. Importantly, we need to ensure that sufficient financial resources are allocated through our budgetary process to give effect to this priority, and that mechanisms for providing this funding to municipalities achieve the desired outcomes. We also reflected on the phenomenon that has been evolving where there has been underspending of budgets, where money that has been budgeted is not spent, and we found that this money runs into billions, and agreed that this must come to an end, because if there is money, it must be spent to good effect, funding the services that our people need, and we will be giving attention to this. In strengthening the fight against crime and corruption, this Lekgotla has emphasized the need to mobilize, yes, all of society, starting at a community level, to fight the scourge of crime. We have said that ANC branches should reclaim the space and play an active role in addressing community concerns in this regard. We have resolved on action to improve relations between the police and the community through existing structures such as community policing forums. There are specific steps that can be taken to improve community safety and discourage vigilantism, such as enabling satellite police stations to operate on a 24-hour basis in a day. We also discussed the pandemic of gender-based violence and femicide, and have agreed that the council that was envisaged and proposed at the first Gender-Based Violence Summit and repeated at the second Gender-Based Violence that was held last year should be appointed, and that the legislation should be finalized without any delay. We have agreed on specific timeframes to review the country's anti-corruption architecture as part of considering the establishment of a vibrant and independent anti-corruption agency. We have also agreed to urgently capacitate the Witness Protection Unit and finalize the review of measures to protect whistleblowers. Whistleblowers continue to face huge challenges in our country, and they need to be protected because those who blow the whistle on corruption and fraud are doing a great service to the people of our country. The Lekgotla has agreed on the importance of reconstructing the intelligence services to better protect the country and its people and to guard against any counter-revolutionary activities. The Lekgotla said that government must introduce a single piece of legislation to deal with citizenship, immigration, and refugee protection. This will contribute to more effective management of migration and better secure the country's sovereignty as well as territorial integrity. This Lekgotla has also discussed in some detail the work the ANC and government must undertake to make Africa and the world a better place. As the ANC, we have said that we must identify strategic partners across the globe. These partnerships must be built on shared interest and a developmental agenda. They must be mutually beneficial and inclusive. We've said that the ANC and government must strengthen economic diplomacy by making the African Continental Free Trade Area work more effectively. South Africa also needs to resuscitate its role as the African Union's African champion on infrastructure. The peer review mechanism interventions that South Africa has been making have also been noted positively, and that work needs to be highlighted and be spread more. The Lekgotla has given important guidance to South Africa's chairship of the BRICS group of countries this year. It has said that BRICS must conclude on the expansion of the alliance with clear criteria to guide the processes, and that we need to use this platform to address the global energy challenges and a whole number of issues that have to do with the geopolitics of the world. We have resolved that the new development bank needs strengthening and political support from BRICS countries to respond better to the needs of the nations that it serves. Today marks 42 years since the murderous raid on the South African Defence Force in Matola in Mozambique, in which several of our cadres and Mozambicans citizens were killed. As we remember those who lost their lives to apartheid aggression, let us dedicate ourselves to the cause for which they lost their lives. And today we must also pass our condolences to our fellow citizens who were massacred in Port Elizabeth, as the reports have been filtering through. We also must pay our condolences to a lawyer in Eswatini who was also assassinated recently. And we say this in pledging our solidarity with the people in Eswatini as they grapple with the challenge of ensuring that there is democracy in their country. And of course, we continue to give our support to many other peoples around the world who continue to struggle for their own independence, their sovereignty, and also struggling against oppressive measures such as sanctions that have been unilaterally imposed on them. We must dedicate ourselves to the liberation of the South African people from poverty, hunger, and unemployment, and we need to build a free, democratic, and equal society for all. These are the highlights of the extensive discussions that we have held at this Lekgotla. There will be a press conference where the SGO will outline more fully the various issues that were discussed in some depth at this Lekgotla, because those will be decisions that will be guiding not only ourselves in the African National Congress, but what we should be doing in government. So we leave this Lekgotla determined to put into action the critical tasks that we have discussed here. We now know what to do, not that we didn't know. We have come here to reconfirm our decisions, and of course, we've come up with wonderful ideas on how to deal with the current challenges that we have, particularly in relation to energy. I'm greatly grateful for the suggestions that have been put forward here. They are going to strengthen our resolve in government. We will be having discussions at our government Lekgotla, greatly empowered, and also the ideas that we'll come up with will be greatly enriched by what has ensued here. And of course, we then move on to the State of the Nation address, which will also be greatly informed by what we have had to discuss here. So comrades, this has been a great Lekgotla, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Kanime. Ayibambe kancinci. Ayibambe kancinci sanivulela nicule. But what we should do, I think we should formally close the meeting. Then, sibe freedom yokucula the whole evening. Yeah. Thank you very much. The meeting is now closed.